Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me right? I think my audio should be working, so... We will be beginning very soon. We have about a minute to go until start time. But hello, everyone. My name is Wongi, or Wongi Plays. I'll be your commentator and also the tracker for this race between ShadowFrost and Furlim. So this match has some high stakes at hand, because in this group, both ShadowFrost and Furlim has one loss each, meaning whoever wins this match will get to advance to the next round of which is the knockout stage. So yeah, this is the break it all match for both of these runners. So this should be a very exciting match to see how it pans out. So let's see. I'm going to start the timer for the runners now, so we'll get started very shortly. So we will get started in just a bit. And so unfortunate for this group, I know some people have been really hoping to see more tiebreakers happen. But this group, as I mentioned, we have one person at the lead with 2 wins, so whoever wins will advance between ShadowFrost and Furlim. But I believe there are maybe 1 or 2 other groups that potentially could end up in tiebreakers. Unfortunately, those will not be broadcasted to SpeedGaming like this, but we'll have the results posted in our bracket. So the race should have started for the runners. We're just waiting for the restream to sort of catch up on. Okay, so yeah, there we go. So runners are getting started now. So first of all, looks like ShadowFrost is going for a nighttime strategy. So in other races, we haven't explained what that does for the runners, but at nighttime you can do a few extra things, which is you can check the TM on top of Solid and Mart. That only is available during nighttime, which is normally a cursed TM. And also on Silver, you can run into an additional encounter slot at level 53, which could be an option if your choice of main is struggling against red. So we'll see if that difference actually makes a difference in this ROM. So here we go. Runners are going into their starters. We have a Sneasel, a Steelix, and a Kingler. So it looks like Kingler will be the choice for Frosty here, and for Furlim, he's thinking about it. He will also take the Kingler as well. And that's a pretty good choice here among the 3. I believe among the 3, Kingler does have the highest attacking stat. Kingler has a ridiculously high attacking stats, so when it comes to physical move, it will be very interesting. The runners here are going to the first route here. So far we haven't seen anything interesting, but alright, so Kingler has Slash, so that's a decent physical move to have. It looks like the rest of the moveset. We have Magnitude. That's a fine move. So it looks like we have some coverage on the Kinglers if we wanted to run the Kingler through this early part of the game. It's going to hold up pretty okay, but unfortunately for Furlim, we do have a female one. Oh, ShadowFrost here is going to go for the Red 46 encounter slots, as they have started with an Ultra Ball, so they will be able to try to look for a potential main swap early on here. That's what ShadowFrost is exactly looking for. And for Furlim, looks like he is going to catch the Tentacruel. Tentacruel is actually surprisingly decent. it has a pretty respectable attacking stat. It is slow and it has some type weaknesses, but it is fairly bulky as well, so... Tentacruel may serve pretty well. Also, having that staff serve and having the stats to be able to utilize it is pretty good in this generation of Pokemon. Meanwhile, ShadowFrost here takes the Fearow. Fearow also has pretty good attacking stat, and with a normal flying typing, it has access to some of the good physical moves, like Drill Peck and Strength and other normal type moves, which are pretty strong in this generation and easily accessible. Furlim will be able to move ahead to the next route, since ShadowFrost did stay behind to check that additional route. It'll be interesting to see if that Fearow will make any difference at all, but looks like, yeah, for now, ShadowFrost is not too happy with the moveset, as Sky Attack is the strongest move it has, and yeah, it's not really the best of moves. Meanwhile, Furlim here finds a Venusaur in Route 30. We'll see what moves Venusaur has. Venusaur, while it's not the most offensively strong Pokemon, it still has a very respectable offensive stat, as well as a pretty good defensive stat, also a kind of randomizer. The berry man giving an actual berry. Also, yeah, anyone in chat, feel free to, if you notice any important items on the ground that I might have missed, feel free to point it out for me, because yeah, trying to solo cast and track at the same time, I may miss a few items here and there, so feel free to do so. But let's see if there are any other good encounters on this route that both runners may be interested in. So on ShadowFrost's side, we have a Lantern. It's very tanky, as you can see. Oh, and the Stab Sunder Punch. A little bit unlucky for ShadowFrost, but luckily he did catch the Fearow, so he has a Pokemon in reserve. So he's not gonna wipe back to anywhere. So, ooh, we have the machine part on ShadowFrost, and Furlim will pick that up very soon as well. So that's a few extra items that they may be able to check later down the road. I think I missed what moves the Standler had, but we'll be seeing it soon. So we have ShadowFrost here looking for more encounter slots here. He's not too happy with the Kingler or the Fearow. We have a Scyther on his screen. Scyther has a pretty decent attack and speed, so that could be something you can run offensive as a physical poke. So it looks like, yeah, ShadowFrost is going for the Scyther here. And on Furlim's side, wow, Venusaur has both Headbutt and Rock Smash. That's really interesting. So that Venusaur is going to give Furlim an option to either look in the trees for a level 10 encounter, or the Rock Smash encounters in Dark Cave, which gives him a level 15 encounter. It looks like Furlim will move ahead. He's going to try probably the Rock Smash encounters if he knows that as an option. And on ShadowFrost's side, we have a Blissey on screen. That's going to give Kingler some much-needed experience to potentially look into some of his level up moves. I'm not exactly sure how early Kingler starts learning moves, but if there are any early moves, then he may be able to look through it now. That could potentially change his mind on the Kingler. Looks like, yeah, there won't be any early moves yet. So he'll be moving forwards with the Kingler, although it is burned, so it might cause a little bit of hassle. And on Furlim's side, we have the Venusaur just pushing through this youngster because, yeah, he has two additional options to switch to slightly higher level poke, so he has some options here. Yeah, actually, I should mark the items that Furlim has picked up. And yeah, TM8, since it's available as a move for Furlim, I'll go ahead and mark that as well. Yeah, both runners will be able to make it through the youngster with no big problem. And here we go, we have Furlim going into Dark Cave. He's going to likely check that one item along the way, and also, yeah, check the Rock Smash encounters like I mentioned before. Unless it's a very underpowered poke, at level 15 it's going to be able to make it through this early part in Violet, and it possibly into Azalea. And yeah, Furlim is going to save here in case that level 15 is way too strong and completely wipes him out. We have a Vulpix. Vulpix isn't really strong, but assuming there's a Firestone laying around somewhere, he can evolve it into Ninetales, which will be fine for this early part. Looks like Furlim will go on ahead and try to fish up a few more encounters. Because the Rock Smash encounters, there are two different encounters you can't see. One has a 90% chance, and the other has a 10% chance of appearing. But judging by the fact that Furlim has run across two Vulpixes, that may be the common encounter. The ShadowFrost will be taking a look at these encounter slots as well. That's 3 Vulpixes in a row, so looks like that is the common encounter, which I don't think he's too happy with. And meanwhile, Furlim is going to go ahead and check these items here. While neither runner has flash and these item checks are not in logic, it might be still worth taking a look. And oh, on ShadowFrost's side, actually, he does run into the rare encounter, which is an Umbreon this time around. And it has flamethrowers, so I don't know, that might have been a pretty decent choice for this early part of the game, but ShadowFrost decides against it. And on Furlim's side, we do find the Earth Badge here, so while this area is still not in logic, it seems like both runners were required to come here once they have flash. And ooh, Furlim runs into this optional here. It may be intentional, I'm not too sure, but okay, he is going to reset back to the cave. Because he did set a save point there, so he can reset back here. And ooh, on ShadowFrost's side, he finds the lost item, which Furlim, okay, he's going to go back. So it looks like Furlim will be finding the lost item as well. So we have 2 fetched items to start out with here, which is pretty interesting. Neither runner will have access to them yet, but if they choose to, they will be able to go ahead and look through those items later on. Machine part will require them to have access to Surf, while the lost item, as long as you can get to Saffron City, you'll be able to check that item. So both runners opting to keep those items, so they will have to fight this rival here. Okay, ShadowFrost does get the crit slash, so even though he's low in health, he will be able to make it through. But even if he didn't win the fight, it's not a big problem, because this fight does give you a free heal, regardless of whether you won or lost. And you're not going to wipe back, even if you lose that fight, so not a big deal. Ooh, ShadowFrost having a slight bit of problem due to that confusion. But he should be able to make it just fine. And ooh, we have the card key available here. So we have a few interesting key items early here that may come into play later down the road. I've had ROMs in the past that give you a ton of badges early on leading up to Goldenrod, and then give you the card key and say, hey, you have to do early rocket towers. So that might be a potential, that way that this ROM might pan out. It'll be very interesting to see, because yeah, card key being available this early could mean that the ROM is pointing them towards that. And on Furlim's side, ooh, Venusaur turns Icy Wind. That should be pretty good in terms for coverage, because ice moves are pretty valuable in this generation, as it does have super effectiveness against some of the harder typings like Dragon. Furlim will do some additional shopping while he is in Cherry Grove, or is this Violet? Cherry Grove. And then, oh, this... So ShadowFrost finds the score bottle. That's definitely going to affect how he's going to path here. He may opt to check that Sudowoodo tree and see what poke it randomized into. It will be level 20, so even if it isn't something super desirable, that may be just what he needs to get through this early part in Violet, Azalea, and possibly all the way into Goldenrod. And ShadowFrost finds a Slowpoke. So that's a bit unfortunate because the way Slowpoke evolves in these randomizers is either you level it up sufficiently into a Slowbro, or you give it the Water Stone to evolve it into a Slowking. We made it so the trade pokes are obtainable through alternative means, whether it is through level ups or through stone evolutions like Slowking here, which we made it a Water Stone. Oh, so it looks like ShadowFrost is going to go ahead and check these items in the national park, at least, instead of completing the checks in Violet. And, oh, he does find Flash here. So yeah, once you get rid of the Squirt Bottle, or once you have the Squirt Bottle and you're able to remove the Sudowoodo tree, you can do a reverse Johto like we're seeing ShadowFrost here, where he goes through Goldenrod first instead of doing Violet first, which in vanilla you do have to get through Violet first. So it looks like ShadowFrost is at least going to check these items. And oh, looks like, yeah, he's going to actually continue into Goldenrod here. It's funny that he finds a Slowbro here. Maybe he was running into the grass on purpose so that he might be able to maybe take a peek at a few encounters there. But yeah, nothing for ShadowFrost in that grass. And oh, I didn't notice, but Furlim actually caught the Vulpix, and actually that might come into play here because Squirt Bottle was available, so he may be able to go into Goldenrod and use Firestone for the Vulpix so that it evolves into Ninetales. And oh, Furlim is actually slightly interested in the Slowpoke here, which I think makes sense as well. With Fire Blast, even though Slowking is very slow, having some of these strong moves early, you may be able to use that to get through these early parts. Meanwhile, ShadowFrost, tried to get through this trainer to check that one item past him, but with the level 9 Kingler, it's going to be very rough against that level 15 poke. And yeah, Snowberry in the chat, yeah. Ninetales, yeah, in the long run is not too desirable as, yeah, it's very lacking in offensive stats, but if it chooses, it could have gone back to Violet and possibly knock out those checks, and early on it might have been serviceable. Ooh, but on ShadowFrost's side, he checks a few encounters in the grass and comes across a Tauros. That could be potentially very good. Let's take a look at the movie. It also has a Rock Smash. Everything has Rock Smash in this ROM. Oh, it does have Stab Stomp. That could be something he could use. Yeah, Ninetales is not too good in terms of offensive or really defensive either. The total stats are not very desirable. But yeah, as I've said, early parts of the game, it may not matter if you have the level advantage. And yeah, it looks like Furlim will go through Violet here. With a Slowpoke that he caught. And meanwhile, ShadowFrost, we'll see where he goes from here. Unfortunately, the Tauros is lower level than some of the encounters in this grass, so Repel isn't going to help him. And he is going to make his way into Goldenrod. And he does pick up the Kenya from the guardhouse here. It does get double EXP from battle, so that may be a potential option for ShadowFrost as well. But unfortunately, it being a trade poke, if you don't have the necessary badges to remove disobedience, that's going to be a very hard pass. And right now, neither runners have seen a badge that will raise that disobedience limit, so yeah, I think Kenya is a bit of a hard pass right now. And yeah, ShadowFrost trying to get through the Goldenrod tunnel here. A little bit of trouble with the Skarmory as he doesn't have the greatest moves to deal with it. But nothing a potion can't heal. Oh, and I probably should mark this as well. Since that item was available on that early route. And, ooh, ShadowFrost does find Surf. That is pretty huge. Surf does have a high space power, so he can potentially use that to get through some of these fights. ShadowFrost will continue through Goldenrod here, and we'll see if he goes back towards Violet or if he will continue into Azalea and complete his backwards track. Only thing to really watch out for if you're trying to do a reverse Johto is some of the item checks you may accidentally miss, because if you're not used to routing the southern part of Johto backwards, there are a few items that you can easily miss. Things like that one item north of the headbutt guy in Ilex Forest. That one is very easy to miss routing wise if you go backwards. So hopefully ShadowFrost does not miss any items if he decides to complete the reverse Johto routing. Meanwhile, ooh, Furlim finds the plane badge here, so badge, okay. And the storm badge for ShadowFrost. So, storm badge, of course, always very valuable, because once you find the fly HM, you will be able to fly around. That will, yeah, unlock your routing a lot. So yeah, so far Goldenrod being pretty loaded, because we did find the Rainbow Wing, the Flash Surf, and also Storm Badge, so for ShadowFrost, he is rewarded for going into Goldenrod early. Luckily, these items did come in his favor. But he will have to eventually get to the Elder to get that plane badge, so it's not like Furlim is in a disadvantage right now. They're just going through these checks in different order, so we still don't know if anyone is particularly farther ahead. So ShadowFrost is going to just check through some of those TMs, and he'll complete his shopping in Goldenrod. Luckily, he is not very short of money, so no big issues there. And, oh, he will go ahead and buy some of these items. But a lot of X specials. I guess he may be anticipating a potential main switch down the road and just wanted to buy them while he's there. And yeah, it looks like Furlim will continue on and do his reverse Johto routing here. Meanwhile, Furlim is now going through Faulkner's Gym. We'll see what Furlim finds here once he completes this battle. And for Furlim, unfortunately, Faulkner did not give anything of value. Oh, and for ShadowFrost, we have HMO2. So actually, that's really huge for ShadowFrost, because one downside of doing this reverse Johto pathing is, of course, you do have to do a lot of movement to backtrack to certain parts, but having Fly is going to, yeah, basically make it so once he checks... Well, actually, I guess it doesn't matter for this early part, because you still do want to check those items in Union Cave and also the item south of Violet, Route 31 or 32. So Fly isn't going to make too much of a difference right now, but it's going to be very helpful once he completes this section here. And yeah, it looks like ShadowFrost will complete Azalea here, as he did go down to the Slowpoke Wall to battle these rockets. But, ooh, that Mew with Cross Chop is unfortunately going to take the Taurus out. And, oh, we have Bellsprout as the Kenya. That's a little bit interesting because... yeah, there's a Bellsprout tree in Violet City, so... if ShadowFrost is curious and wants to check that, then yeah. He can take the male off the Kenya, and then put it on a different poke, and then turn that in. Instead of turning in the actual Kenya poke here. And yeah, Snowbear has mentioned. Hopefully he does make sure that the male is taken off first, because that is... because with how the ROMs are randomized, there are very few ways you can get soft locked or hard locked out of being able to complete the ROM. And unfortunately, the one of the very few ways you can lock yourself out of progression is if you delete the male or lose the male through, for example, trading the Bellsprout away. And if either the Kenya Man or the guardhouse reward has anything important for progress, that means yeah, ShadowFrost has effectively locked himself out. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Meanwhile, Furlim here is going through Union Cave, and he does find the rainbow badge, so... okay, and yeah, Snowbear has confirmed that, yeah, that specific soft lock is mentioned in the rules, so runners should be aware that that is a possible way to soft lock, and they should be aware. Ooh, and Furlim finds the fog patch here. So yeah, it's sort of interesting how this ROM is panning out right now, because Furlim going through the normal routing here, he finds the fog badge, but then ShadowFrost found the Surf HM by going the reverse route. So yeah, both pieces being very available early on, it's just they'll be finding them in a different order. So yeah, all things considered, now both runners have converged in Azalea here. ShadowFrost slightly ahead in the Slowpoke well, but yeah, effectively they are like neck and neck in terms of going through this Azalea part. And ooh, that Gengar is going to be a little bit of a nuisance for ShadowFrost, as he has a normal move and 2 fighting moves, so he can only really hit the Gengar with Petal Advance, which is going to be not very effective against the Gengar here, as it is part poison. And yeah, Furlim with a little bit of an unlucky encounter in Slowpoke Wall here. And ShadowFrost is going to use the Kingler to get through this with Magnitude, but okay, Magnitude 6 is just enough for him to get past that Moonlight stalling that was going on here. So yeah, ShadowFrost is going to finally teach Surf, but well, I guess it doesn't matter that he does get rid of the Rock Smash move from the towers, because they both had Squirt Bottle and they did talk to the Rock Smash Man, so they have it available in the Goldenrod Mart. So it looks like ShadowFrost will be able to get the rockets done here. And ShadowFrost will continue cleaning up the remaining checks in Azalea here. And yeah, thank you Snubber in the chat for answering a lot of these questions. Yeah, between tracking and commentating, it's a little bit busy trying to do 3 things at once, so much appreciated help there. So ShadowFrost will make his way through this gym. Now that he has taught Surf to the Taurus, I think he should have very little problems here. And yeah, Furlim here just making his way through with the Slowpoke. Yeah, even with the higher levels, unfortunately, it is a Slowpoke, so not going to be the fastest clears through these fights here. And then on ShadowFrost's side, yeah, it looks like even with the Stab Stomp, it's not necessarily the most powerful move, so he's having to set up a little bit to make these fights easier, but we have a Blissey, so he's going to gain that much needed levels for Taurus, so a looking counter for him. And then on Furlim's side here, finishes up the Slowpoke wall, so he'll be joining ShadowFrost in this gym very soon. And looks like unfortunately Bugsy is not required today, so if you thought he was a scam, that's probably confirmation that Bugsy is a scam. And Furlim will discover that very soon as well. So ShadowFrost here will fight this rival, and then do the far-fetched quest, so that allows him to check 2 additional items, one for guiding the Farfetch'd towards the NPCs in the middle, and then he can go back to the house and check what normally is the charcoal item, for a total of 2 more items, so I guess that's the last 2 chances that Azalea might be a required check, because those 2 checks require you to clear out the rockets in the Slowpoke wall to access. So we'll see in just a second whether Azalea was totally a waste of time or if it was worth doing. And ShadowFrost does run out of repels here, so hopefully he remembers to go to the shop and buy additional repels for his trip towards Violet City. It looks like so far nothing. We'll see if the charcoal item is required at all. And, ooh, Furlim with the sleeve is going to be a little bit slow to completing this section. And okay, ShadowFrost does remember to buy more repels. Oh boy, does Furlim have... Okay, yeah. I think he was trying to save the full restore for later, but yeah. He does not want to take the wipe here, so he's going to choose to use it, but he's going to get stuffed right away. So yeah, Furlim, unfortunately, is having to spend additional time here to get through this section. Meanwhile, we have ShadowFrost here, finally going through these checks in Union Cave. So he's going to be able to find that fog badge that Furlim found earlier, so for ShadowFrost, that's going to unlock a lot of different checks. One of which is this Union Cave check right here, so yeah, very convenient for ShadowFrost. Because he routed backwards, he's able to access these two items here right away. And yeah, it's also possible that ShadowFrost can run into some of those level 20-ish encounters here. And if they're any good, then he could also switch to them as well. And looks like... yeah, it looks like the 23 encounter is on oddish, unfortunately, so no switch there. We still have a few more encounters left, and... oh, there's an Eevee here. That could be interesting. It could use one of the stones to evolve it into the evolutions, which, of course, Flareon is a very good physical attacker, and Vaporeon a good special attacker and a tank. And, oh, looks like ShadowFrost is interested in this Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl has a pretty good attacking stat, and also very speedy. Aerodactyl is very speedy. Not many things will outspeed it, so that could be a potential option for him to main switch to, but unfortunately his party is full, so he'll have to go to the PC and check it later to see if it has a moveset that he would like to work with. So yeah, a few more tiles for ShadowFrost, then he will be able to make it out of this section. I wonder if ShadowFrost will reset back to a safe point if this item is not required. Or he could just escape rope out, to be honest, because he did enter through the Azalea side, so if he escapes rope out, it's not too long of a trip back. Yeah, there we go. He's gonna escape rope because he wants to check what the Aerodactyl has to offer. Yeah, Furlim trying to just make through the best he can with his Slowpoke here, having to use protect to protect against that sky attack there. So yeah, Furlim, a bit slower to get through these fights, but he does manage to get through here. So once he gets a golden round, he's going to discover all the items here. And yeah, ShadowFrost unfortunately also discovers the Pokédex here. So yeah, both runners will have to make sure they don't accidentally press the Pokédex instead of their Pokemon menu. Because that does shift everything down a line in the menu, so... people do have a lot of complaints for the Pokédex being available. Meanwhile, ShadowFrost makes it to Violet, and yeah, now that he has Surf, he is going to be able to check those Surf items locked behind Surf as well. It'll be interesting to see if either of those items require checks that Furlim will have to come back to later. And yeah, I agree, Snowbear. Vaporeon is a very workable evolution. But yeah, of course, Espeon being a friendship evolution, you have to catch it as an Espeon, otherwise it's pretty much impossible and not very reasonable to evolve an Eevee into an Espeon. It is slow, but then yeah, because it has such a high HP stat, Vaporeon is very workable. It will be able to tank some of those special effective moves if it's not too far behind in levels. ShadowFrost is going to make through these checks in violets now. Luckily for him, his Taurus is now level 21, so none of these fights should give him any problem. And then meanwhile, Furlim here enters Goldenrod, and looks like he's going to do some shopping. Yeah, he's going to do some shopping here. And then he's going to finish up the checks in the basement and also buy those TMs at the top along with the Waterstone, which is going to unlock access for the Ruins of Elf Chamber, the Waterstone room. So ShadowFrost here is going to check the items locked behind Surf here. Furlim thinking about whether he should buy X items or not, but looks like he's going to pass on them for now. And he will buy one Waterstone. I was hoping Furlim would buy 2 Waterstones so he could at least evolve the Slowpoke into a Slowking. But I guess for now he's going to pass, because if you do consume the Waterstone, you will not be able to use it for the Waterstone Chamber later on. And ooh, we have Ice Beam and Sunder available as TMs. That's pretty good, because yeah, there's something called perfect coverage in this generation where having both Ice and Sunder moves will allow you to hit pretty much almost any Pokemon at least neutral. I think there are only a few things that you will not be able to hit neutrally. I think it's Magnemite and Magneton, because they are Steel and Electric. So I think those are the only 2 they're not able to hit neutrally. But very few things that you cannot hit neutrally. So having Ice and Sunder as your special options, definitely very good if you're running a special type Pokemon here. And I'd be surprised if Furlim commits those moves to the Slowpoke here, but he's going to buy some X specials in anticipation that he is going to look for a special poke. Meanwhile, ShadowFrost here is going to continue making his way through Sprout Tower here, which he will have to since Plain Badge was found earlier by Furlim. Yeah, Furlim here also finds the Storm Badge, so both runners have access to Fly. Yeah, both runners have their routing options fully unlocked with Fly. I think if I were in Furlim's shoes right now, I would be looking out for potential ways to switch out of the Slowpoke as your main poke, because even if you do evolve it to a Slowking, it is still very slow. So it's not really the best option to commit all your strong special moves to. And in Furlim's current position right now, the options you have are to go north and potentially release the roamers and try to catch one of them, since they are level 40 and they might be some attractive options. Or once Furlim discovers the Surf HM here, he may opt to check some of the surfing slots. I think in Mount Mortar, the surfing slots will let you with possible encounters, although not the highest levels. Might be still better than the Slowpoke, so those might be options. So it looks like ShadowFrost will do some backtracking here and go back for some of the items that he unlocked with Surf. Which shouldn't be any problem. Which shouldn't be a problem at all, since he does have Fly, so he can fly out of anywhere he decides to go. And yeah, Furlim also finds Surf, so he's going to be pretty happy being able to give Surf to a Slowpoke. ShadowFrost now going to check the 2 items in Tojo Falls here. And yeah, both runners are able to... Oh, he finds an Arcanine in the cave. I wonder if he's interested in catching that, but looks like he's pretty happy with Taurus. I wonder if he is aware that he has a lot of special TMs on his hands that might benefit a special attacker. And he runs into Haunter. Unfortunately, Haunter will take a bit of time to evolve from 24, so he will wisely pass that option. ShadowFrost coming towards his last item check here, which is not required. So for ShadowFrost, I think, yeah, you're looking to finish up some of these checks here, like the Surf item here, and then move towards the northern parts of Johto. Because at this point, your progression is likely locked beyond Goldenrod. If not in Goldenrod, I think he still has yet to fight Whitney, so yeah. Yeah, not too many checks remaining in Goldenrod or before Goldenrod, so I think moving into North Johto is going to be a good move. So he's going to at least fight Whitney here, wrap up his last 2 item checks here in Goldenrod, and then move towards North Johto. Yeah, with Surf available as an option, you do have access to a couple of items in Mount Mortar. Which is really good. And although not preferable, you may also have the option to switch to the shiny Pokemon in the Lake of Rage. Because of how the shiny pokes work in this generation, you're guaranteed to have at least 3 of your stat DVs to 10, so if there's nothing else attractive to you, then that may... Oh, that's the wrong item. That may be a potential option, although running a shiny means you're going to lose a lot of time every time you send it out to battle and have to watch that shining animation every time, so it would take quite a bit of conditions to run that, and Furlim unfortunately does not realize that that optional does have its side range all the way there. And Whitney is not required. So I think ShadowFrost is now going to head north towards Ekritik. And for Furlim, it'll be interesting to see whether he wants to move towards Ekritik now. Potentially take a look at the roamers and see if any of them are attractive options for him to go for. So yeah, looks like Furlim is going to make his way into Ekritik. ShadowFrost did set the flying point earlier, so he will be able to fly right back. So here in Mount Mortar, without strength, you can check these 2 items up the ladder. And then once you exit Mount Mortar, you'll be able to surf to the middle portion of it and check the items on the bottom floor. And we have a silver wing as an option here, so both runners may be keen on finding whirlpools so they can go into World Islands for a potential main switch to that level 60 Lugia, which is of course randomized. But if it's anything good, then that will allow them to breeze through a lot of the game. So yeah, actually now both runners have converged in the same location here. Furlim very slightly ahead in these item checks here. Yeah, luckily for Furlim, a lot of the additional checks that ShadowFrost has done were non-required items, so if Furlim does not go back for them, then that may be one way to make up for the time lost by trying to use the Slowpoke here, because that did cost them a lot of time in battles. So it'll be interesting to see where Furlim goes next, now that, of course, he also has Fly, so he will be able to go pretty much anywhere. So seeing their routing options will be a key point here. Ooh, Furlim chancing those encounters in the grass there. Luckily he does not run into any. So, looks like, yeah, Furlim will go ahead and check that one item next to the guardhouse here. Same with ShadowFrost. And then both will go ahead and check the red Gyarados in the lake. So as I mentioned before, this could be a potential main switch, but with a shiny golem, that might be a hard pass, even while running the Slowpoke. It looks like Furlim will try to bring it along, at least. Because having a level 30 in your reserves may come in handy, but yeah, it looks like trying to catch it at max health is not going to work. And same on the ShadowFrost side. The Taurus is going to get knocked out. I don't think either runner saved before, or Furlim may have saved. Looks like he's going to save reset back. So Furlim did save, so he will be able to give that another try. Maybe try a different strategy. And for ShadowFrost, he did manage to paralyze the golem, so he's going to try to weaken it with the Fearow, but level 2 Fearow not really going to do anything, so it looks like he did invest in a revive too. The Taurus, so he can get past this. And ooh, he does get the cut HM from the red Gyarados check. And also, defeating or catching the red Gyarados will unlock the Rocket Hideout in Mahogany here, which does have quite a number of checks that you can go through. I believe there are 10 items in the hideout itself, and then it unlocks 3 additional item checks, one in the guardhouse to the north, and the 2 items on price. So at this point in the run, definitely an attractive option for both runners, as this is the one single location with the most number of items right now. The second best option would be Olivine with the Lighthouse, but neither runner have visited there yet, so they would have to bike all the way from Ekritik, which I think both runners are going to go for this item dense location first. And also for both runners, going through this section right now will give them pretty valuable experience. That's going to allow them to tackle on some of the other later fights a little bit more smoothly. But this section will take quite a bit of time to get through. But man, yeah, I'm still surprised that Furlim decided to just go with the Slowpoke instead of evolving into Slowking. Slowpoke is not as powerful as a Taurus, so some of these fights are going to look a little bit more rough, as we can see here. So ShadowFrost will continue on first. He's going to fight the scientist and then turn off the surveillance here, so none of the other statues are going to attract those rockets like the first one. And yeah, teaching Surf to the tour is definitely coming in handy in a few places. Yeah, well, Taurus is more attack heavy, still having some special moves for coverage is a pretty good idea. As we haven't seen any good physical options to deal with some of these tougher defensive types. He does have Karate Chop, but without the crit from the Karate Chop, it may not be enough to get through some of these rock types, most of which are very high on defense. So using special moves to get through them might be a good idea, even if you're not specially oriented. But yeah, Furlim, even with a Slowpoke, is able to make through all these battles, slowly but surely. And if you're used to playing Pokemon Crystal in its original vanilla form, you'll be seeing a few small things that are different here in Rocket Hideout. So one change we made to these ROMs is that normally with these rockets that give you a password, you have to talk to them after you've battled to actually obtain the passwords. But then we've made a change so that as long as you have battled them, it counts as you having the passwords. So once you get to the room with Mercury, you can unlock the door right away, even if you didn't talk to them a second time. That's a quality of life change that I personally welcome a lot, because sometimes when you're going really fast, you may forget to talk to them a second time, and that shame of walk back to the rock gets here to get the password if you forgot to talk to them a second time. It's a very long walk of shame. So like a quality of life change so you don't have to go back if you messed up. Frosty finds a mineral batch here, so at least one required item in this section for both runners. And while both runners are just making their way through this section, I guess another interesting thing that I think have been talked about in some of the other runs, but if anyone was wondering why ShadowFrost and Furlim are running two different genders is, well, I guess it's just a personal choice really why you're choosing one over the other. But a lot of people will go for the female sprite because at a technical level there is a very minute difference in loading times just because of the way the sprites are made. So the female sprite does load 1 frame faster, I believe, because of how the sprites are compressed in file size and all. So Yeah, with these randomizers, when you're going through speed choice, it defaults to female for that reason. But then, it's a very small difference that doesn't add up to a big noticeable difference. So yeah, some runners will make a conscious choice to use the male sprite instead, if they like the male sprite more. And so ShadowFrost will have no problems getting through this section. Unfortunately, he does not have access to strong physical moves, so even with steps, stomp, some things will take more than one hit. But not a big deal here. So ShadowFrost is going to go for the last few items remaining in the hideout here. Just find a Master Ball, which can come in handy later if he finds a poke that he wants to switch to. So after this battle here, ShadowFrost will have to knock out the 3 electrodes. Of course, all 3 of them are randomized to different ones. And then Lance will give his item at the end of that. And that's going to allow you to check all the remaining items in Mahogany, the item to the north in the guardhouse, and 2 items on Price when you defeat him. Oh, Taurus actually knows Cross Chop now. I may have missed how he obtained it, but either way, Cross Chop is a pretty premier fighting move. It only has 5 PP, so it is a bit annoying having to heal your PP option for that and having that chance to miss, but in terms of raw power, Cross Chop is the most powerful fighting move you can have access to. So if you're ShadowFrost right now, having Cross Chop on a physically oriented Pokemon like Taurus, you'd be pretty happy. And looks like one of the Electrode is a Tyranitar. You'd have to defeat or catch them in order for it to count as having defused an Electrode. ShadowFrost unfortunately does get poisoned here, so he's gonna have to use a healing item. I wonder if Furlim is going to be interested in the Tyranitar for a potential switch out from the Slowpoke, because in the long run the Slowpoke is going to cause a bit of problems with battles, as it's just not very good to run as your primary attacker here. I think Tyranitar is really the best out of the 3 if Furlim wanted to use those as an option to switch out of the Slowpoke. And looks like Lance's item is not required. And ooh, Electrode with the Solar Beam. A little bit of a scary moment for Furlim there. And yeah, Healer in the chat. So yeah, the text is not randomized for that particular one. Lens, of course, normally gives you HMO6, which will teach you Whirlpool. But then since items are randomized, the text box might not match up with what the TMs actually teach. I guess in that case it's an HM that he gives, so yeah, the text is not going to line up. But the text will line up with the TM, so for example, Price normally gives you a TM for defeating him, and whatever TM number he normally gives out will have the move that shows in the text box. So we'll be seeing that on ShadowFrost screen. Yeah, it updates the TM text, but not the HM text, like Lance's case here. So, for example, if you go to Olivine, the guy who normally gives you strength is going to have his text show as, yeah, here's strength, but then he might give you a potion. Yeah, ShadowFrost is going to... I don't use a revive here. He does have one max revive. Hopefully he does not get knocked out a second time, because it seems like he may be running out of revives here. So he's going to take this extra turn to make sure the Taurus is all good to go with the moves. And looks like price is not required. And yeah, this text went by too fast to see what Price's normal TM number would have had, but that text would have been randomized to the move that it actually corresponds to. Oh yeah, unfortunately it looks like besides the mineral badge and the hideout, nothing else was required. So ShadowFrost will return to Ekritik. We'll see if he decides to... Looks like he's going to go to Burn Tower to take a peek at the roamers and maybe take out Morty. So in just a bit, once ShadowFrost defeats the rival here, we will be able to also hear the cries of the three roamers on the bottom floor here. It'll be interesting to see if any of them are worth switching to for either runner. And yeah, Furlim having quite a time here, being paralyzed and confused. Hopefully he still has revives remaining. Yes, he does. So it looks like slowly, but he will be able to make it through the hideout with the help of some healing items. So yeah, here you can see on your ShadowFrost screen, even with Karate Chop, Omastar did take a few hits to go down because Omastar does have high defense, but not as high special defense, so Petal Dance earlier took it up pretty quickly. So if you have that knowledge, then that's something you can use to get through some of these fights more easily or quickly. If you know how each Pokemon's stats are allocated. So here we'll take a look at the rumors real quick, get your guesses in the chat. I think there was a Clefairy on the left. The right was a Mew? And then the middle one maybe a Victory Bell. But, Chad, what do you think? What are the three rumors that we just heard the cries for? Oh, but it looks like, yeah, ShadowFrost will pass on Morty and Kimono Girls for the time being. Oh, ShadowFrost is, I guess he's going to take a quick pass in the grass to see if the rumors show up. But it looks like he's not too interested in either the Clefairy or the Mew, which have chances appearing in that patch of grass right there. Furlim, once he checks the roamers, he may be interested in possibly the Mew, which has a chance of appearing to that right left of Ekritik. ShadowFrost, unfortunately, will hit that optional trainer here. He does have a long range of sight. He has to be completely out of your screen, I believe, in order to successfully dodge that one. So yeah, he's going to make his way towards Olivine after he defeats this optional trainer. Meanwhile, Furlim is going to do some backtracking here before he checks anything in a critique. Yeah, if you're Furlim right now with a Slowpoke, you really want to avoid as many battles as possible because they are going to be very slow. And ShadowFrost, yeah, once he hits the fly point for Olivine, he's going to fly past the rival cutscene. That is going to save a few seconds of time. And also, that's going to possibly allow us to see some funny interaction later if he decides to surf towards Cyanwood. And we find Whirlpool here, which brings ShadowFrost one more item closer to being able to access Whirl Islands. The level 60 Lugia static there may be a very good option to switch to if he has access. Assuming it's not something unfortunate like an Iggly buff. Or a Cleffa that requires friendship evolutions. Or any other single stage or two stage pokes that are maybe a little bit too weak to even consider. So yeah, ShadowFrost will be defeating this trainer, and there's two more trainers he needs to defeat in order to be able to check all of the items in the lighthouse here. Which, at his current level right now, and his moveset, won't be too big of a problem. And Furlim, you're trying to run away from the Dunsparce here, but unfortunately Slowpoke is a Slowpoke, so it's not gonna be able to run too easily from things, as it does have very low speed, and your speed does determine how well you can run away from things. Luckily Furlim has a Poison Cure Berry, so we'll be able to cure that. Meanwhile, ShadowFrost here is going to talk to Jasmine at the top here. That's going to unlock that one check in the Cyanwood Pharmacy. Ooh, and this is huge for ShadowFrost. He finds the Clear Bell. And previously we already found the Rainbow Wing, so that's going to allow ShadowFrost to enter Tin Tower now. So yeah, first of all, Tin Tower has loads of items inside it. So that's going to allow ShadowFrost to access quite a number of additional item checks that he can try to look for. And also at the top of the tower, you're going to be able to take a peek at the Ho static, which has been reduced to level 40 and is available right away instead of having to defeat Elite 4 in order to make it appear. So ShadowFrost may be slightly interested in switching to that if the level 40 Ho static at the top of Tin Tower is useful at all. And also for ShadowFrost, he finds a Zephyr badge, which puts him at 7 badges. So now the Rockets have taken over Goldenrod, so he will have to climb up the radio tower to defeat the Rockets at some point, possibly. We don't know for sure yet. And also having both Zephyr badge and HMO5 will allow him to put all the dark areas into Logic. So things like Dark Cave, Rock Tunnel, and Whirl Islands. Well, I guess they don't have access to Whirl Islands right now, but once they have both HMO6 and Glacier Badge, they will be able to go into World Islands knowing that they have Flash, and having Flash means those items can be a required item now, since they can navigate through the not in the dark. But ShadowFrost here first is going to check the ruins of Alp, the hidden room in the back of this chamber here, which requires you to flash. And we find the soul badge here. So yeah, this chamber. And oh, assist ticket. So wow, this is a lot of good items in here. We found the Hive badge, the SS ticket, and the soul badge here, so yeah, that Zephyr badge giving him a lot of good items here. And of course, having Hive badge means now you can check these items locked behind the cut tree, along with a few others. And unfortunately for Furlim, the Kimono Girls were not required today. Looks like they are on break after making so many ROMs require key items on the Kimono Girls. So yeah, also finding the SS ticket has some interesting implications, because currently there is no way of getting to Kanto except through the boat. So ShadowFrost can either go to Tin Tower to take a look at those items, but he will have to fight the 3 stages beforehand. Or he can take the SS ticket into Kanto and take a look at some of those items. Especially now that he has Flash and Rock Tunnel is in Logic. Also he has a machine part. That circuit there from Lavender to the machine part check might be something ShadowFrost is interested in, now that he can do that in one pass. Looks like there's nothing in Lake of Rage, so now he is going to make his way towards... So yeah, he's going to go to Olivine now. I think he is going to go to Kanto first. And actually I think this could be slightly better than trying to enter Tin Tower right now, as the moveset on the towers is good enough, but definitely could be better to make those fights go more smoothly. But if ShadowFrost goes to Kanto and the Vermilion Harbor, he may be able to fish for a few high level 30 encounters and see if any of them offer a better fighting chance against the sages, alongside all those checks that I have mentioned before. So this is definitely one viable play for ShadowFrost here. And yeah, also he'll be able to check this one item check on the boat for finding the little girl. Meanwhile, Furlim here, unfortunately, because how slow Slowpoke is, he is going to get hit by a lot of different things, including status moves like these. This is one of the reasons why you want to have a good main that has a respectable amount of speed, because if you're too slow, you're going to be getting hit by a lot of moves, some of which you do not want to get hit by, like sleep moves, like we've seen now, and in general status moves. So we'll switch audio to Furlim again so we can take a second look at the roamer cries. So there we go. We have the 3 roamer cries again. And yeah, here we go. So ShadowFrost, so lucky for him, taking the boat ended up being a good move because the Cascade Patch was on it, so luckily he gets a badge for his troubles there. And oh, looks like he's interested in this Gyarados here. I'm not sure if I don't know if I would have personally switched to the Gyarados here, as it is equal in level. I think Tauros is more than fine in terms of attacking, in terms of its stats, so... And of course, because of the typing, Gyarados is weak to 4 times weak to electric moves, and that could be pretty scary. So it can be a bit scary running a Gyarados, but we'll do some party management here, and we'll see if the Gyarados has any good moves. Because even with those clear weaknesses, it might be good to run. In this case, not at all. Those moves are not going to be very serviceable for the Gyarados. And yeah, ShadowFrost here is going to just skip that Pokemon Fan Club item check for now, as he does have the machine part, and he's going to have to come back to the Fan Club house for the lost item check anyways, so he will do that all in one go instead of having to do it twice. And because he does have fly, it's going to be very easy to fly out of anywhere that he decides to go in Kanto. Usually that's the biggest limiter in terms of where you can go in Kanto, because some areas, once you enter them, it's going to cost you time to leave without fly. The eastern part of Kanto being one of them, because if you do go east of Saffron here, there are 3 bikers blocking your way back. And if you go west and then south into Fuchsia, you have to bike up Cycling Road again, and there's 1 trainer blocking your way back. But yeah, having fly, you can bypass those trainers that are blocking your way. So yeah, look at ShadowFrost here will make his way towards Lavender and probably into Rock Tunnel. He may check these items south of Lavender first, as they are pretty quick checks. And he does have access to all of them, since he does have both Surf and Cut. Meanwhile, Furlim here is going to take on Morty. I forget if ShadowFrost already defeated Morty. I feel like he may have already, I'm forgetting it, because the Weezing does seem very familiar. But yeah, good for Furlim at least. This isn't going to be in vain, because Clearbell is going to be available for him later down the road. And to enter Tin Tower, you have to meet one of 3 conditions. One, you can defeat Morty in order to unlock access to Tin Tower, or you can clear out the Radio Tower rockets to get access to that as well. I believe defeating E4 is also an option to gain access into the Tin Tower, but of course that's a very inefficient and long, difficult journey to do that, just that, so either Morty or Radio Tower rockets will be the likely options to get into Tin Tower. And yeah, ShadowFrost will have Flash to get through this section. And Furlim does get through Morty. And Morty himself is not required, but Tin Tower may be required, and this is one way to get into Tin Tower, so Yeah, we'll see if Tower provides anything useful for both runners, which is highly likely based on how many items are in Tower alone, and also the Ho Chamber that comes afterwards. So I'd be very surprised if none of the items in Tower are required. And yeah, unfortunately for Furlim, that poison tick causing some movement issues there, and he does have to fight this trainer. Oh, Furlim, unfortunately, yeah, runs into this one as well. If you are sufficiently away from the trainer towards the south, you can dodge him pretty easily, but unfortunately, Furlim flew too close to the trainer there. And yes, Kirby, Morty himself is a scale, but Tower may be required. ShadowFrost will do some shopping here. Lavender Town sells max repels, which may be good to buy here. As there are still many parts of the game both runners will have to repel through. And he will check this item, and it's HMO4. So now ShadowFrost has access to Strength as a move, which is very good for Taurus. It's going to be much better than Stomp in terms of raw base power. And Rolling Kick I'm not too big of a fan of. It's only 65 base power, I believe, and 85 accuracy, which is not any better than Karate Chop, which he has right now, which is 50 base power but 100% accurate. So yeah, ShadowFrost with Strength available as well. Looks like he's going to go ahead and check Ice Path first. I wonder if ShadowFrost is not feeling too confident on taking on the Sages with the Taurus with its current moveset and level right now. Because ShadowFrost should know that Tower is open to him right now, but he's opting to do all the other checks around it first. But locally for ShadowFrost, he has been finding a lot of key items outside of Tower, so his routing is luckily paying off. But wow, yeah, Furlim took that slowpoke all the way from level 20 to here, and now he's going to use that rare candy to top off that final level he needs to evolve it into a slow bro. I'm probably going to have to ask him later if this was exactly what he was looking for the whole time. Because who knows, Slowbro might be his favorite poke, and he just didn't want to pass up the opportunity to run his favorite Pokemon for his race. Yeah, in the... Oh, ShadowFrost. That was he's going to have to bike back, but... Yeah, in the community, yeah, your Pokemons that you do prefer to run, or you just personally like, are referred to as buddies, and... Yeah, it's always fun to see your buddies show up in a race, so you can pack them along with you for your journey. So I'll ask Furlim about the slow poke and the slow bro later. I know we have a few members in the community that love slow bro, so you know, if you're watching Furlim right now and you like Slowbro as a Pokemon, then Oh yeah, you better be rooting for Furlim here. And we find the first piece of the Pokegear pieces, the radio card, and also the Thunder Badge here. So yeah, actually, ShadowFrost is closing in very quickly into Go mode. He has 4 badges remaining and 2 Pokegear parts left, with tons of item checks still remaining. So ShadowFrost is probably feeling a bit comfortable right now, having this many key items in an hour and 28 now, so definitely in a pretty happy position. And then Furlim here, now that he has a Slowbro, he's going to be suffering a bit less, as Slowbro has better stats overall than the Slowpoke. Still very slow, but you have a bit more firepower to work with. And yeah, Kirby, if I was in this situation, I probably would have gone for Mew, at least give it a try or two as well. Because yeah, Mew is a very balanced poke, so at level 40 it's going to be more than serviceable for whatever fight you decide to go for. But of course, who am I to say? If you want to run your buddy or, your bro, then nothing's gonna stop you, and who knows, Slowbro might be the dream. So now ShadowFrost will continue with some of these quick checks, but looks like he's heading back to Akritik now, so I think he is going to look towards... Okay, he has not done Morty yet, so he's going to opt to do Morty to gain access into Tin Tower. Which, of course, is a faster way to get into Tin Tower than the Radio Tower rockets, and a much easier fights too, so... Not too surprised ShadowFrost is going for Morty here. And yeah, Linkshot, Mew has 100 stats in every stat across HP all the way to speed, so Mew definitely has decent enough stats that you can run it. So yeah, Mew doesn't excel in anything, but it is very balanced. So you can run him either physical or special, and it's relatively tanky, so you're not gonna die to too many things either. So yeah, master of none but jack of all trades is what Mew is. And Furlim here is making an interesting decision to go towards Cyanwood. Yeah, chat, let me know if I've missed any items for Furlim, but it's a bit of an interesting decision here for Furlim, as without strength, the only item you can access in Cyanwood is the pharmacy check. So Furlim here is going to be able to get the fly point and an item check here, and then there's nothing else left for him to do here. So let's see if that does anything for him, but looks like the pharmacy guy will offer him the potion that he gives out in emergencies. Always funny to see when the item doesn't really line up to his text there, but yeah, so unfortunately for Furlim, that excursion is not going to pay off. And oh, he's going to go into the radio tower. So we're seeing a bit of a divergence here in which checks both runners prioritize. So ShadowFrost is going highly values 10 Tower and for a very good reason. So he's going through Morty now. But then Furlim is going to get through Radio Tower here. Which right now will only net him, I believe, 5 items total, including the False Director if he chooses to defeat him. And neither have found the basement key yet, so he will have to come back to clear out the basements later. ShadowFrost is going to fight these 3 stages in order to progress into 10 Tower, and Furlim will continue through the Radio Tower here. And while Furlim is at Radio Tower, there is one more interesting interaction that you can see in these randomizers. So in the game, normally, when you unlock Radio Tower, what you're supposed to do is go into the Goldenrod basement in that puzzle room, and you have to defeat a lot of rockets to talk to the real director in the basement to get the card key. But in these randomizers, since items can be anywhere, you could find the card key without going into the basement for the real director. And you'll see runners go for the Radio Tower and then the basement second, because when you defeat the rockets in Radio Tower, that also clears out the rockets in the basement, which means if you're going through the puzzle section after defeating the rockets in Radio Tower, you won't be seeing those additional rocket trainers. Which is, of course, a real big convenience, as you will be able to skip out on 8 or 9 fights in the basement. You still need to fight the rival, but none of the rockets will be spawning in the basement once you've cleared out the Radio Tower. And for the tournament, we have enabled a couple modifiers to change how the game works. One of which is no vanilla basement, so there will never be a time when you don't have the card key, but you have to do the basement with all those extra rockets in order to gain progress. You will always find the card key before you have to go into the basement. And unfortunately for ShadowFrost, he does get burned. In Crystal, Gold, and Silver, getting burned will reduce your attack by half. So as a physical attack, getting burned is a real big annoyance, as it does reduces your damage. ShadowFrost successfully defeats the 3 stages, so he will be able to enter 10 Tower. I don't think ShadowFrost will want his victory bell here. But yeah, there it is. This week is a victory bell, so anyone who we're guessing along and gets victory bell, that is our Suicune rumor here. So now ShadowFrost will be able to check all the items in 10 Tower here. And then after he either defeats, runs away from, or catches the Ho-Oh static at the top, he will be able to access the Ho-Oh hidden chamber in the ruins as well. And ooh, we have an expansion card here. And yeah, for ShadowFrost, after this, he's probably eyeing on those remaining hidden chambers in the ruins of Alph, because he has access to strength now, and there is a way for you to access the remaining 3. Well, I guess in this case it's just 2 chambers, as ShadowFrost checked the flash chamber room already. But yeah, once you enter Union Cave and go through the back to access these chambers, you can check the whole chamber first, escape rope out, and then go back into Union Cave to check the Waterstone hidden chambers. So you don't have to go through Union Cave twice. If you can get through the Hoe chamber first, and the Waterstone chamber, into the Flash chamber. And ShadowFrost is going to do what's now called a save reset. That's going to allow some time saves here and there where, for example, they're checking the item and having to walk back to where you want to go is time consuming. So if you save reset back to before the ledge, then you can just keep going without having to walk all the way around. So Furlim cleared out the rockets in the radio tower, so he will be rewarded with a few item checks here. Ooh, ShadowFrost finds the red scale, which is another fetch item quest he can do later for one item check. Earl, I'm going to check his last free item here. And yep, so now he can go fight the fake director here. So normally, you know, he is also part of Team Rocket, so he would have disappeared, but we made sure he sticks around because defeating him normally gives you what is the basement key. So because his item is included in the item pool, we made sure that he sticks around even when the rockets are cleared out. It looks like for ShadowFrost, he was able to find the expansion card and the red scale, but nothing else of importance. And we have a lucky tome at the top of the tower. I don't think he'd be too interested in it. ShadowFrost... He may have been trying to defeat it for experience, but unfortunately, since he was working with low HP, he does get knocked out here. But it looks like he knew that running away still counts as activating the hidden chambers for the Hoa room, so he will run away after attempting to kill it. And it looks like for Furlim, the radio tower itself was not required. So Furlim will have to decide where to go next. Looks like he'll do some shopping first, though. So yeah, we'll see where he heads next. Tin Tower is likely a good option for him right now, as it's a lot of item checks. And now we also know that it is required, since there is an expansion card in there. And turning the red scale may also be a required item. And okay, yeah, very good. ShadowFrost does remember that you want to do the Ho chamber first, because you can escape rope out to this point, and then re-enter Union Cave in the back. It looks like Furlim isn't quite done with backtracking, so he's going to come back to Violet. Alright, so he's going to check the Flash chamber now. ShadowFrost finds the basement key. But yeah, as I've mentioned before, if you want to skip out on those extra rocket fights in the basement, you'll want to clear out the radio tower first to despawn those rockets, and doing that is faster than doing the basement first. ShadowFrost, now taking a look at the Waterstone chambers. And we have the Marsh Bash here. So here, so the Runes of Alph puzzles are not really required in these randomizers, as they're really only used to spawn additional encounter slots in the ruins. Because if you recall from vanilla, that's what allows you to see all the so. And yeah, for bingos, for the previous bingo tournament, we had those puzzles as a potential goal. So if you were playing bingos around last summer, you might have seen that as a potential goal and people going for it. Looks like ShadowFrost, after seeing the basement key, decides to go for the radio tower here. Which, while it's still slow getting through the tower, I think it's still a good check to go for, as there are 5 items in the radio tower, and I believe around 8 in the basement, so... Definitely a good option right now, since it is pretty item dense. Meanwhile, Furlim will step foot into Kanto for the first time. I guess I missed the tech as well. Let's see if it gets on. I guess I did miss that from my tracker. So Furlim will be making his way to Kanto on the boat, and he will be rewarded with a nice cascade badge at the end of this section. And oh, ShadowFrost had an Aeroblast TM. That's a pretty powerful flying move, but it does have the same limitations as Cross Chop, in that it has only 5 PP and it's 95 accuracy, so there is a very small chance you can miss Aeroblast, much like Cross Chop. So ShadowFrost will have no problems getting through this radio tower, as this tower is now leveled up and also powered up with pretty good moves. And oh yeah, Furlim kept the egg in his party, so we'll be able to see what it is today. And it is neither and female. Yeah, some people will choose to keep the egg they get from Elm's Aid in Violet, because when the egg hatches, that could be one of your 2 pokes that carry all your HMs and field moves. That's one reason why people might keep it. And of course, the second reason being just out of curiosity. You want to have a little bit of fun and you want to see what the egg hatches into. It's always amusing to see what the egg hatches into in each ROM, so... There we go. Furlim has found the Cascade badge, so not feeling too bad about having to get to Kanto through the boat, which of course is slower than using the pass. So yeah, Furlim also aware that he does have the machine part, so he's going to do the Pokemon fan club check all in one go. So while these runners are making through these checks, if anyone is interested in doing these randomizers on your own, we have a Discord where we have all the information you need to get one of these set up to get it running. So, I forget the command in the chat, but I'll get that posted if anyone was interested in running one of these. Furlim, I forget where the high badge and the soul badge was. I believe it was in the flash chamber. I think he might have done it, so... Actually, yeah, I think he did do the flash chamber, so yeah, that's a good catch. So I'll go ahead and mark those for Furlim. I forget if there... I think there was at least one more key item in the flash chamber, but I'm blanking a bit right now. But yeah, we'll be able to figure that out later, so no big deal. So yeah, ShadowFrost is 3 badges and the Pokegear away from Go mode. And yeah, Furlim also not too far behind. He did struggle with some of the fights because he was running the Slowpoke for the longest time, but considering that, he's not too far behind. There are still ways for this race to sort of equalize for both runners, and yes, Linkshot in the chat. Hive Badge is the badge that allows you to cut trees. So yeah, confirmed that he does have Hive Badge. And oh yeah, I guess the SS ticket was the other key item in the flash chamber. That would make sense. That was the other key item that I noticed I missed, so that's probably it. So yeah, thank you for pointing those out. And I don't think it was a required item, but I hope Furlim remembers there's an item down there. Yep, I think he saw it. Now that ShadowFrost has checked all of Radio Tower, he's probably going to head into the Goldenrod basement as he does have the basement key. Oh, and I forgot the radio tower rockets are also on the tracker, so I'll go ahead and mark those for both runners. And, ooh, extreme speed. He's thinking about it. So yeah, extreme speed will allow the Taurus to go first. If he really needs to go first before any other move. I'm not... You can debate whether that was a worthy move to teach over Aero Blast, but there are situations where extreme speed could come in very handy, especially when you want to finish off a Pokemon after you couldn't quite one-shot it. Furlim now going through the machine part rewards, one of which was strength. And Furlim will now go towards Ice Path. I forget if we checked the Pokemon Fan Club, but doesn't matter too much here as neither were required. And yeah, Bell, you can argue it's a bit extra, especially because Taurus does have strength, and Taurus is not too slow, so yeah, you'll be fine in most cases. But still, it's the stab extreme speed, so maybe he values that somewhat, having that priority move that goes first. ShadowFrost here is going to open all the puzzle doors, so there's a specific pattern that lets you open the doors in a way you can access the 2 items here first, and then open the doors in a way that lets you get to the other parts of the basement here. So starting from right to left, if you label the switches 1, 2, 3, then ShadowFrost went for the 1, 2, 1, 3 pattern, I believe, to allow access to the items. You can also do a 1, 3, 1, 2 pattern there to open the doors for the 2 items. And then if you press 1 again for both patterns, then you will unlock the door so you can get through to this part. Looks like this basement is a Ultra Ball warehouse, as we've found 2 different Ultra Balls here. And ShadowFrost finds a Glacier badge. Now that's going to be pretty big for ShadowFrost, as he does have both Surf and the Whirlpool HM already, so he is going to be able to teach it and then use the Whirlpool to gain access to Whirl Islands. So there are a lot of items in Whirl Islands, and also ShadowFrost did pick up the Silver Wing at some point, so he will be able to take a peek at the level 60 static Lugia, which of course is randomized. Looks like ShadowFrost will set the fly point to Cyanwood first. That's one way to handle the Whirl Islands and Cyanwood access, is to get that quick fly point unlocked first and then surf from Cyanwood. And then there's a second way I can explain after I explain what's going on here with the sprites. So the game has a very interesting way of handling sprites. Because of the hardware limitations at the time, developers had to be very creative with how they use resources for different sprites and things. So one of the ways the developers use to save on resources is to basically save these sprites away in the background where you normally shouldn't be able to get to. So that way, you know, in this case in Olivine, normally you have to get through the rival cutscene first in order to get into Olivine, so the game has the rival sprites loaded in the back there in the water. But of course, because ShadowFrost did fly past that cutscene, the rival sprites did indeed load in the back there. That's what we're seeing there. And our level 60 Lugia today is the Wheezing. So between the two poison pokes, Wheezing and Muck, you'll occasionally see people run Muck, as Muck has a pretty high attacking stat, and it's pretty defensively bulky. Wheezing not so much, because yes, Wheezing is not as offensively oriented. So you might not see Wheezing being run as often. But yeah, always still worth catching in case you need to use the Wheezing to get through some parts. Especially for the red fight, there may be a case where having that in reserve gives you more options. So yeah, if you have to run either Mug or Wheezing, Mug is usually the preferred choice. So it looks like Whirl Islands was not required actually. Which is a bit surprising, considering how many items are available in Whirl Islands, so ShadowFrost will make his way towards Cyanwood now that he has strength access, and Furlim will enter Tin Tower. So Chuck's gym here has 4 trainers along the way, and then Chuck himself. Chuck gives 2 items, and then Chuck's wife outside the gym, who would normally give you a fly HM, will now give you a random item. So we'll see if any of those 3 items are required, because Furlim, when he made his visit here, he didn't have strength, so he was able to only check the pharmacy item. So ShadowFrost will have no problems getting through this gym, as the Taurus is pretty powerful now. And Furlim will get through the Sages here to get into Tin Tower. Slowbro does have both Fire Blast and Blizzard, which are inaccurate, low PP but powerful special moves. So if you're planning to run a Slowbro, definitely not a bad set of moves to have. I think the only coverage he's really missing right now is water types. I don't think he doesn't have a grass or electric move that can cover those generally bulky water pokes, so I think he does have a Thunder TM though, so if he's going to commit, then he has that option as well. Actually, I'm surprised. If Furlim is committed to the slow bro, then he could have caught the Ice Beam and the Sunder TMs, but it looks like he hasn't yet. So maybe he's banking on one of the other high-level statics to be something he can switch to. Looks like Furlim will throw a Master Ball for the Victory Bell here. So we'll see if Furlim switches to the Victory Bell or if he's just carrying this along with him. And ShadowFrost, meanwhile, finds a Boulder Badge on Chuck's wife here, so it looks like Cyan Wood was required. Furlim does have a fly point, so he will be able to return to it pretty quickly. So ShadowFrost now with only 2 items to go mode is going to be going for these one-off checks because either of the items that he is missing will give him more checks to get through. Ooh, actually Secret Potion was an option, so looks like he has a few options to go for. You can do the Secret Potion check, so fight Jasmine. Or since he has done the machine part checks, he can also check this one item that's normally the hidden item of machine part. ShadowFrost will get some of these quick checks out of the way first, and then he will likely go for some of the longer checks that are remaining. Which I don't think he has too many long checks remaining right now, as they are still locked behind things like Waterfall and the Poke Gear. And looks like, yeah, Shadow is not really finding the items that he needs, so he's going to continue on. I guess the longer checks that he does have remaining is in Kanto. He still has yet to fight any of the gym leaders in Kanto, so he may be looking to get started on those now. It looks like ShadowFrost is going to start off with Janine here. Janine is one of the 2 Kanto leaders that will give you 2 items for defeating, the other being Erica. And also in Fuchsia, the route to the right has a cut tree that you can cut and then go through to access an item there. So I guess counting that route, Fuchsia will net you with 3 items, so definitely a good place to start. And also, Janine is the easiest of the Kanto leaders, as she has only recently taken over her father here. Anyone who has played Gen 1 will know that this gym was originally owned by Koga, who is now in Elite 4 in this generation. ShadowFrost, now looking through his options, maybe figuring out if he can improve his moveset on the towers a bit more. It looks like, yeah, a lot of special moves, not too many physical moves he can use for the Tora, so he's going to stick with what he has. And let's see, I believe in 10 Tower there was a red scale and an expansion card, if I remember correctly, so I'll go ahead and mark that for Furlim. I can't remember if Furlim did the check-in slope of... Oh yeah, so he's gonna go back for that now. And ShadowFrost here is going to wrap up his fight with Janine. Looks like she wasn't required, but she does give the dig TM, so... And the randomizers, the field moves, are actually not randomized, so things like Sweet Scent TM12, Rock Smash TM8, and Dig, which is TM28, is not randomized, so he will have that to potentially use in place of escape ropes. And yeah, I think Volcano Badge was somewhere that I've missed. It was in either one of these Ruins of Alpha Chambers or in Tin Tower. I'll go ahead and mark that for Furlim for now. And looks like ShadowFrost did not find what he was looking for, and he's going to make his way towards Erica here. ShadowFrost here is just going down the line with the Kanto leaders here. I think at this point for ShadowFrost, the longest check remaining is Nugget Hedge Maze. But he probably does not want to do that first in case that long investment doesn't pay off. So he's gonna go for these quick fights first. So yeah, Furlim now starting to close in on ShadowFrost a bit. ShadowFrost really hasn't been able to find the two remaining items that he needs. And he has to do Jasmine here as well, which he's going for, so he doesn't have too many checks remaining now. And even if ShadowFrost has to do Nugget Hedge Maze, he probably won't feel too bad about it now, as his towers is going to have no problems at all. And Furlim making his way towards the basement now. He will be finding the glacier badge down there once he makes it to the end, so he will be rewarded with that. Meanwhile, ShadowFrost fighting Jasmine, she will give you 2 items. And it looks like Jasmine is not required either, so looks like Nuggy Hedge Maze is looking more and more likely. If not the only check remaining at this point. Actually, oh, that's a good. Actually, yeah, I totally forgot. ShadowFrost did go through the radio tower, so it's time for Claire. Yeah, I always forget about Claire because that's one of those checks that I personally leave behind for a long time, so. And that's one of the reasons why we have that rockets as an available item in the tracker, because that's what gives you access to Claire. So actually this is a good move from Frost, as he does have World Ball, and Dragon's Den has 5 items total compared to Nuggy Hedge Maze's 2, and then Misty giving 1 herself. So yeah, between Nuggy Hedge Maze and Claire, yeah, Claire is definitely the more efficient check in terms of number of items you are rewarded with for your time. So we'll see if that line of reasoning does pay off for ShadowFrost, because of course items necessarily don't always follow the most efficient checks. So there's still a chance that Furlim might decide to go for some of the checks ShadowFrost did not, and get rewarded with it, so. So we shall see. Yeah, so right now the only 2 things that we don't have information on are the Pokegear and the Rising Badge. Those are the 2 things that neither runner have come across yet. Boulder Badge, we are aware of where it is, as ShadowFrost did find it at the end of Cyanwood. And Furlim hopefully does not hit this extra trainer here. Very good, because that extra trainer, if you hit it, you will get heavily punished, as he does have 6 pokes, so that's a lot of time if you do run into that. So yeah, there's definitely a chance of Rising Badge being vanilla and being on Claire herself, or any of the items that are in Dragon's Den. So for ShadowFrost, if he gets the Pokegear, he will get access to the western parts of Kanto by waking up the Snorlax and going through Diglett's Cave. Or if he gets the Rising Badge here, he will gain access to Waterfall, and he will be able to enter the back part of Mordor that requires Waterfall, or he can go into Victory Road towards the Elite Four. And there are a few items along the way as well, so that could be the means of progression for ShadowFrost as well. Furlim... Okay, he's going to start moving again. Maybe needed a quick reminder of where to go. And yeah, Taurus with strength at this level is going to destroy most things. So now that he has defeated Clear, he will be able to enter Dragon's Den and collect all the items there. He will have to still do the little quiz and everything like normal. And unfortunately for Furlim, I don't think Moral Islands actually had anything of value, so he will be a little bit sad once he discovers that. Alright, let us see if ShadowFrost is rewarded for doing clear here. Now there are 3 more items remaining. One for completing the quiz, which is the normal Rising Badge reward. And then clear normally gives you a TM when you walk out, so there are those 2 items, and then one more item past the water here. Looks like it won't be a vanilla Rising Badge. It could still be very close and be French vanilla. Like, it could be this item here, for example. Oh, it looks like it won't be that either. So, if it is not the 1 item ball to the right of ShadowFrost right now, he may have ended up wasting a little bit of time here. And, ooh, so it's the Poke Gear, so Claire was required after all. So now ShadowFrost will be able to wake up the Snorlax and enter Diglett's cave and come out towards Pewter City. And the way of waking up the Snorlax is having the Pokegear, the radio card, and then the expansion card, so you can use the Pokeflute channel at the very end. Unfortunately, it's only a Farfetch'd, which ShadowFrost isn't going to even take the time to catch. So we'll see how quickly ShadowFrost finds the Rising Badge, because that is the only item remaining for ShadowFrost now. Just that 1 badge. So everything in the back of Mortar isn't going to be required at all for him. As soon as he finds Rising Badge, it's go mode. But of course, since he did gain access to the western parts of Kanto, Victory Road, you can access through Viridian City, so all of Victory Road and even E4 are still considered possible checks right now, which, if you're in ShadowFrost position right now, you do not want to see that, because that's going to be one of the last checks you're going to go for. And ShadowFrost unlucky and runs into that encounter there. Meanwhile, Furlim going through Chuck's gym here, and at the very end on Chuck's wife, he will find a boulder badge, which he does need. And I may have missed it, but there's a chance Furlim does have the radio card already. I'll confirm that later. Otherwise, his tracker is up to date. So yeah, ShadowFrost is going to check these Victory Road items first, as they are pretty quick. They're only 4 items. Four? We're at 5? Yeah, actually, it's 5 items. It looks like ShadowFrost is, not even thinking about E4 being a possibility. And now he's going to check the 2 items to the south there, 1 item right below him, below this trainer here, past the ledges, and then 1 more which is locked behind Whirlpool. Which of course, he can't access from New Park as he does not have the Rising Badge, which lets him use Waterfall outside of battle. It looks like ShadowFrost will take this right route here. And yeah, he's just going to feed all the vitamins to Taurus, as he is pretty committed to that now. And some much needed inventory management. I think right now ShadowFrost has a very comfortable lead, as the items that Furlim needs are still locked behind not too short checks. Because yeah, he will have to get through Claire's gym in order to get the Poke Gear for the finish. And yeah, Furlim hasn't done some of these backtrack items yet. Let's see. Was this the radio card? I don't think it was, but... So yeah, ShadowFrost has completed more item checks than Furlim, so... ShadowFrost is in a respectable lead right now. ShadowFrost unfortunately runs into that trainer, but looks like that'll be the last trainer that he will run into in this route. And oh, ShadowFrost takes the left path here. So ShadowFrost will talk to Blue here, which puts him in his gym in Viridian, and then now he's going to fight Blaine. Getting to Blaine takes a little bit of time, but otherwise, the fight itself is very quick. No additional trainers to battle, and Blaine himself only has 3 pokes, so definitely a good choice to go for if you want a relatively quick check. And he's going to commit the rare candies now to make some of these fights easier, as Blaine does have a poke that goes up to level 50, and then Blue goes up to 56, 58. somewhere in the mid to high 50s, so those battles are definitely not going to be a slouch. Looks like ShadowFrost will have not too many problems setting up for lane here. And looks like Blaine isn't it either. So right now, ShadowFrost can do blue. He can do Brock. Brock is also a fairly quick check as there is only one trainer in the way with one poke. And Brock himself is 5 pokes. But blue is an option as well. He has 5 or 6 pokes with no trainers in the way. But his pokes are high level, so it might be a little bit of a rough fight depending on what blue has in store. And to answer a question in the chat, so for this particular variant of the item randomizer, we're not including hidden items as possible required items. So no, any items that you would normally use with use the item finder to find, so like any items that are like hidden in the ground, they are not going to be items required. Same with berry trees, those are just normal berries and they won't have anything important. And NPCs that give you items that require specific day conditions. Like there are a couple NPCs that give you a different item based on what day it is. Those items will not be required either. So Furlim here looks like he is looking to take on Jasmine. It might be a bit longer before Furlim decides it's worth fighting Claire, so looks like ShadowFrost on the other hand is having a little bit of trouble with the blue fight. Army with Ice Beam, where have we seen this before? There was a race yesterday where there was a Starmie with Ice Beam. And yep, that's one use of extreme speed, trying to finish off before they can react. And Corsola, probably not the most threatening thing, so he will be trying to set up. Corsola is going to use Defense Curl to sort of mash the boost that ShadowFrost is getting. So it looks like ShadowFrost is going to get rid of the Corsola before it gets too beefy. And he might be good to go with this many X items set up. Yeah, even with extreme speed he's able to one-shot the Reiko, so he's definitely good to go. Meanwhile, Furlim will complete the fight with Jasmine, but unfortunately, she only gives you 2 TMs and not the items he needs to progress. And ShadowFrost's journey to finding the Rising Badge continues. So he can do Brock. Or he has no soft sand girls yet either, so it looks like he's going to take on that fight first. It is definitely the easier of the remaining checks as it's only 3 battles and the level averages are definitely lower than the other fights that are remaining for ShadowFrost. So definitely not a bad choice at all here, as he needs exactly one item to finish. And Soft Sand Girls at the end will reward you with one item. ShadowFrost will have a few more fights left before we can check what items the Soft Sand Girls are holding. Meanwhile, Furlim is going to clean up some of the remaining item checks that he skipped earlier. So first off is Whitney here. Okay, so ShadowFrost will be able to check this item here, which is still not the Rising Badge, so... Yeah, ShadowFrost getting a little bit unlucky with these item rewards. ShadowFrost briefly thinking about teaching Cross Chop back to the towers again, but looks like he is happy with the extreme speed, so he's gonna keep that. ShadowFrost going through the Kimono Girls now. If I remember correctly, it wasn't anything required, so it'll be a bit longer before ShadowFrost finds the item he needs. He still has the Nugget Hedge Maze remaining, and Misty, which he can do after clearing out the Nugget Hedge Maze. There's E4 still remaining, and I'm not sure if there are any other checks remaining in Johto. He already checked the red scale item. He has checked the lost item, girl item E2, so... Yeah, ShadowFrost doesn't have too many item checks remaining now. Maybe I forget if he did Surge or not, so that might be a possible option as well. Where will ShadowFrost go next? Looks like he is going to Vermilion to take on Surge. Yeah, at this point, yes, Surge and Brock are probably the two fastest checks you can do to pick up an item. Now, Hedge Maze, of course, you do have to go through 7 or 8 trainers before you can even check one of those items. So it looks like ShadowFrost will go for these quick item unlocks first. And looks like Surge isn't it either, so yeah, ShadowFrost will have to keep going down the list of gym leaders in Kanto. Oh, and I guess, yeah, ShadowFrost still has Erica left too, so looks like the runners will converge here for a little bit. I think for Furlim, if you're in his position right now, actually, not in Furlim's position, but it would be a little bit unfortunate for Furlim to find the Rising Badge here, actually, because based on the item ShadowFrost has found so far, any items locked behind Waterfall are not required, so if Furlim finds the Rising Badge here, he may be led to a few additional item checks that he really doesn't need to do, whereas ShadowFrost just needs the badge and he can just get out of here. So besides Erica here, ShadowFrost has yet to check Brock, Route 4, Nugget Hedge Maze, and E4 from what I can remember. And I guess if the mystery egg shows up anywhere, that could be a potential option, but that's about it. It's slowly looking like it's going to be 100% siege for ShadowFrost here. Yeah, it always feels bad when you rule out one of the checks and yeah, it always feels bad when you have that one check that you didn't do consciously and then later realizing that that's one of the few item checks remaining for you. That only sure feels bad. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why you'll see a lot of variance in these races, because yeah, runners have different preferences and styles of completing these checks, and also have different preferences for which Pokemon they value higher than others. So it's always interesting to see how these different preferences and what they know translate into these differences we're seeing here. So you might have some people that will actually rush some of these much longer checks to sort of hedge your risks in terms of, oh, I have to go back to this check 2 hours and 40 minutes in. And of course, you know, every ROM is different in terms of what routing it requires you to do, so for some ROMs, a specific style of routing might benefit you, while in other ROMs, it can punish you, so for this particular ROM, ShadowFrost for the most part stuck with prioritizing locations that are item dense, and while it did reward him for the most part, for this Rising Badge in particular is not working out, because it seems like the Rising Badge is located in an area that isn't one of those checks that he likes to prioritize. It looks like Furlim wanted to check that item just in case. But it looks like, yeah, it's not gonna pay off. And yeah, fortunately, both runners managed to converge here once again. So yeah, one difference we're seeing here is, yeah, Furlim is not really willing to go to Claire's gym before this. Or he may be feeling that he might be behind the other runner. That's also a possibility. Because if you know what types of item checks that your opponent likes to run, you could use that to your advantage and go for other checks that they might have not likely checked as a way of sort of catching up, because it may be a while before they get to those locations. So maybe Furlim is thinking ShadowFrost already finished Claire, so he's sort of hedging his bets on this Nuggy Hedge Mace being required. That ShadowFrost may take a while to get to, but unfortunately, if that's Furlim's line of thinking, ShadowFrost is already here, so... we'll see in just a second. We'll be able to see this cut trade check, which isn't it, and then the fabulous prize here. He will save just in case he does not have to fight him for the prize. He does not, so... looks like if it is... it might be Misty. If it's not Misty, then... Brog, RAV4, and E4. And yeah, I'll go ahead and mark the radio card for Furlim, as I think ShadowFrost found it relatively easily, so I may have missed Furlim picking up the radio card, which I think is very likely at this point. Yeah, apologize, I don't have too much experience with commentating and tracking, so... so yeah, I might have missed a few items here and there, but yeah, thank you chat for bringing those up, because yeah, they're pretty helpful for me to figure out if I missed something or not, so... let's see if Misty is required here. And yeah, thank you chat, appreciate that. Okay, we'll see if Misty is holding the Rising Badge. If not, then... yeah, Misty with a Starry. That is, yeah, pretty close to what she normally has, so... I guess, yeah, mildly kind of Randomizer. So yeah, there we go. So ShadowFrost is going to take on, looks like, Brock and Route 4 now. So yeah, we'll see if Brock is holding the badge. At least for the tournament matches that I've commentated or personally seen, it seems like Brock actually has been holding a fair number of items, so that might be the case again here. Or if not, there's Route 4 and E4. Both checks with the number 4. So in this particular ROM, ShadowFrost wasn't really prioritizing these sort of out-of-the-way checks. Brock is a fairly quick one, but yeah, Route 4 is a bit out there for one item, so... in this case, not going for those out-of-the-way checks has come back to sort of give him a little bit of trouble finding that last item, but of course there's no right and wrong in terms of where you decide to route, because items can be anywhere. Only difference is it can be more likely it's somewhere, but that's about it. So yeah, in this case, either Route 4 or Elite 4 is likely holding the Rising Badge, which is very unfortunate for ShadowFrost. As I think his routing so far has been pretty good. The way he's been routing has been sort of what many runners prefer to do, which is those item dense checks. And then once you have very few items left, going for those items that you can do quickly to check what that one item might be. So just a little bit unfortunate for ShadowFrost that his routing didn't pan out, but luckily for him, he is still in the lead, so he still has time to find his last badge. Yeah, and also unfortunate for Furlim because he can go to Claire's gym and clear that out, but he's not really valuing that check. He might be thinking that either Claire takes too long and he does not want to go there, or just trying to get in the... Unfortunate for ShadowFrost there, but Furlim may be trying to predict what ShadowFrost might have already done, and he's just trying to go for other checks first, in case they net him with something useful. Because that's also a valid play, at least in my eyes, is if you feel like you're behind, you can go for some of these Hail Mary plays and hope that the other player doesn't go for it before you. Or on the flip side, if you think you're very ahead, you can go for these checks as well. Because you might think that your opponent isn't going to do these out-of-the-way checks if they're behind, so... a lot of different ways of thinking about how to tackle these ROMs, which makes it really interesting to watch. So here we go, ShadowFrost checking this last item here, and it's the bike. Oh boy, unfortunate for ShadowFrost. Looks like this ROM is an E4 seed. And yeah, as Wing has put in the chat, the longer the seed goes, the more it gets in your head that some of these really out-of-the-way checks are required. As if your opponent hasn't finished it either, it's likely that is one of those checks your opponents are avoiding. So yeah, ShadowFrost unfortunately very close to doing 100% completion rate here, as the only few things he will have remaining on his item checklist is anything... well, I guess it's just the waterfall checks behind Mount Mortar, and the mystery egg check. Those will be the only items that he wouldn't have done before completing. So yeah, very close to 100% completion run for ShadowFrost here. I guess, yeah, Mel, if that is the case, then we might have almost 100% minus the Mount Mortar checks. If you really wanted the mystery egg, that's one way to get it. Yeah, why not? Just turn in the Rising Badge too. Who knows, it might be a rare candy. The ShadowFrost will be finding that Rising Badge in time after E4, so he will be in Go mode pretty soon. He'll be in Go mode in 5 or 10 minutes, somewhere in that ballpark. And for Furlim, he's finally made his way to Blackthorn. So he will be finding the Pokegear at the end of all this. And I feel like for Furlim, unless he is also thinking about doing a Hail Mary, the ultimate Hail Mary play, he's going to be coming to E4 much later, so ShadowFrost definitely in a very comfortable lead. So yeah, ShadowFrost will make his way through E4. At level 61, Taurus will not have too many problems. But yeah, those status moves are sure annoying to deal with. So that's one Elite Four down, he has a few more to go. And yeah, that's true, Mel. Poison can be dealt with like that. Because the way poison ticks work in Gen 2 is that if you manage to never give your opponent a chance to do anything, then the poison tick will never go off. The poison tick only really happens when you lose your turn. It's the same for getting damaged by burn as well. But of course, burn has the additional effect of reducing your attack. So that's a bit annoying to deal with. Leftovers is an exception though. If you do have leftovers on your poke, that will heal you no matter what in between actions. So yeah, both runners having to deal with a lot of status moves, but not too big of a problem here. Yeah, it looks like the ROM has gotten a bit lazy towards the end here and forgot to randomize some of the folks. Sorry you missed it, and then yeah, hit him on top number now. Yeah, we have ShadowFrost here on lands, which is the final Elite Four fight. Meanwhile, Furlim going through Claire's gym here. Maybe a little bit lost. Maybe he might not be familiar. Actually, wait. Yeah, there we go. So Furlim will make his way into Dragon's Den, where he will find the Pokegear. So that's going to finally point him towards where to go. But with ShadowFrost, yeah, almost done with the last check he needs to do. It's going to be a very steep uphill battle for Furlim to try to close this gap that ShadowFrost managed to generate. And in case anyone was wondering, if you do fight the Elite Four, after that saving text box passes through, your game will have been saved. So as long as you reset past that text box telling you that your game is saving, you're good to go. The game is saved and you can reset back to here. So, yeah, unfortunately for ShadowFrost, he will have to go all the way to Tin Tower for his last item check here. It could still be Mystery Egg, of course, which, you know, is going to add a little bit of more annoyance for ShadowFrost, who's looking to finish here. But yeah, so here we go. So yeah, this Rainbow Wing check here will require you to finish the Elite Four, and there we go. That's the Rising Badge. So this is go mode for ShadowFrost. And yeah, for Furlim, he found the Pokegear, so he is going to be led towards the western parts of Kanto. But I don't think Furlim will go for E4 right away. Even if he does, that will take him some time to complete. Might be a bit rougher to do with a Slowbro. Mount Mortar will not really be in logic for Furlim, as he cannot use Waterfall outside of battle right now. And the last badge being Rising Badge, both runners can guess that Mount Mortar is not going to be required. Or at least the Waterfall lock sections. Yeah, so yeah, ShadowFrost did not have to check the back of Mount Mortar at all. So here we go for ShadowFrost. Since ShadowFrost is running a towers, there aren't too many things that can seriously hurt him. There might be some like fighting moves that could be a problem, but luckily you have X defense to deal with some physical moves, so there are ways around dealing with physical moves. Strong special moves might be a slight problem just because of the sheer level difference you have. And of course, Taurus is not as strong in the special defense compartment compared to his defense. So we'll see how he fares with his red fight. Oh, ShadowFrost is going to teach Fly to the Taurus. That's an interesting choice. So Fly does have the additional utility of being able to stall out any moves, or good for dodging 2-turn moves like Solar Beam, Skull Bash, Dig, and so on. So that might be what he taught Fly, but looks like we've seen this wheezing before. It's not very threatening, so ShadowFrost is going to have absolutely no problem setting up, even with Double Edge being a pretty scary physical move to see. Yeah, I don't know, because ShadowFrost did have an Arrow Blast TM that he did not teach, so he should probably be aware that he has that. Yeah, I can ask him about it after this, after he finishes up red, but yeah, teaching Fly... Oh, that's a little bit unfortunate of a crit for ShadowFrost. Yeah, crit Double Edge is really scary, because critical hits will ignore any stat boost that you have. So even if you set up 6 X defense, if you get hit by a crit, all that is gonna be ignored, so... Yeah, a bit of an unfortunate happening for ShadowFrost there. Furlim is... Ooh... Actually no, there are victory road items he needs to check, so I don't think he's gonna go all the way to E4, but... Two crits in a row. Yep. Yeah, that crit luck is a little bit unfortunate for ShadowFrost, but as long as he heals to full, I think he will be fine. A little bit risky there, because if that was a double edge, that would have been it, but... What is this luck for ShadowFrost, man? That's a lot of crits. What? This is so ridiculous for ShadowFrost. That's 4 crits alone in this fight after resetting. But yeah, good god. If ShadowFrost was running anything less defensively good, this would have been a very annoying fight. As luckily Taurus is defensively pretty strong as well, so that's why he's able to weather through this, and... Yeah, will ShadowFrost be able to get through the rest with the setup he has done so far? We will see. We have the Moo. So yeah, looks like ShadowFrost is looking to sweep here. He has ways to deal with the Tyranitar as well, as it is 4 times weak to fighting. There we go. Gligar might live. Gligar does have a lot of defense, but yeah, it looks like it won't live through that either. Umbreon definitely a very tanky one as well, but yeah, Tauros with Staff Strength with that setup at level 65, 64 looks like it's going to be enough. So that is done, and GG for ShadowFrost. So yeah, GG's for ShadowFrost. A bit unfortunate in terms of checks and that red fight in the end, but he did pull through with a final time of 3:08:54. So we will have ShadowFrost for an interview very soon. So yeah, once we have ShadowFrost over here on air, we'll have a short interview with him. Meanwhile, Furlim looks like he will at least try to get through some of these additional checks and try to finish. And yeah, oops, those DVs on the Taurus. A bit unfortunate. So while ShadowFrost joins here, I think a 3:08 finish, considering he almost full cleared this from and did E4. I think it's a very respectable time. Because yeah, Elite 4 is not one of those checks that most runners will do early. So usually it's one of the very last checks they do. So getting past the 3-hour mark with an Elite 4 being required is a very solid time. Let's see. So Frost should be joining us soon. And we'll have ShadowFrost on very soon. So yeah, unfortunate for Furlim with this win on ShadowFrost. ShadowFrost will be advancing to the knockout stage. Meanwhile, Furlim, unfortunately, has been eliminated from this group. Let me see if I can message ShadowFrost real quick, as yeah, I think he is here, just not quite in the interview room. Okay, so there we go. So let's welcome ShadowFrost to the interview desk. GG's to you, and also for me.
Thank you.
So, how did you feel about this race?
Elite 4, checking everything. I think that about summarizes it, mostly towards the end.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that Elite 4 was required, and 3:08 for an E4 require run is a very respectable time, so congratulations on you for that finish time.
Thank you. It's definitely not my greatest start to the run. Like, just finding a main was kind of rough.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Taurus, eventually, I was like, okay, that's... hopefully it will get good at one point. And it was not doing a lot of damage. At least, not as much damage as I expected. And that kind of figured towards the end that I saw that it had 0 attack DV.
Yeah, the 0 attack DV was very unfortunate, but you did get pretty lucky there that you did find the Taurus on Route 34. That's like between Goldenrod and National Park.
Yeah.
That's a pretty uncommon spot for people to find their main, so luck was definitely in your favors there. And we also have Furlim on our interview desk here. So a little bit of an unfortunate loss, but it was still a very good race for the both of you.
Oh, yeah. I kind of... Actually, first, GG's to ShadowFrost. I think
Thank you. It was a good match.
He was practicing way more than me, so he deserves it in the end. But I kind of want to say that I lost because I forgot that Claire existed. I really had no idea that I hadn't done Claire yet. I don't know what what came up in my head, but I thought that I had already done that. And yeah, but I don't know. I really don't know how to say because I don't know where the last badge. Where was Rising badge after all?
Behind Elite 4.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, I was very, very far behind. I've got no chance.
Yeah,
So,
just
yeah.
Yeah, just unfortunate that Claire happened to be a required check for
Mhm.
progress, because if it wasn't, then it would have put you in a pretty good position as well. So yeah, with the nature of these randomizers, yeah, sometimes you get punished, sometimes you don't. So
Yeah, I know that my full clear isn't very good, so I just tried going wherever I felt like if I was behind or if I was making some progress that Shadow might have skipped, because when I got the clear bell to get access to Tin Tower, I guess I got pretty late. So okay, must be something there, but I'm gonna leave that for later, because if everything important is there, I might have already lost. So I went on to get another stuff, and I had a Pokemon with Rock Smash so early that I did the Dark Tunnel, and I got some pretty good stuff. I got like Lost Item and Machine Part, and then behind Machine Part was a lot of stuff. Then at that point, I started thinking, okay, maybe I got back on this, because I don't know if he had the same luck as I had to get that. I think it was Venusaur with Rock Smash, and
I
I
Yeah,
had that
just
too.
I had it
I
too,
oh okay, so
and I did the same. I did the same thing.
oh okay, so yeah, I just kept a little bit of hope that I had that advantage. Then I went back and did the fast checks, and I was seeing that you were not finishing, and then no, maybe we can do it today. Maybe I can do it. But yeah, I knew that it was a long shot for me to win against you and against Snow Bear.
You definitely put up a good race against both Shadow and Snowbear. So yeah, considering you said yourself that you probably didn't have as much practice time, I think you put up a very good race here. So you don't have to feel too bad. And
Yeah.
especially running that slow, bro. Actually, I wanted to ask you about that, and the viewers
Sorry?
were pretty curious about that. So the slow
Oh, this
poke
is slow,
was
bro.
yeah. So yeah, tell me a little bit about slow, bro. So why you decided that you would keep the slow poke, not use a water stone, and keep it until it became a slow, bro.
Wait, the Waterstone works?
Okay, I guess that was one possibility I thought of as well. So
Oh no, I didn't know.
yeah. So for these randomizers, we made sure that all the trait evolutions are obtainable in one form or another. And
Oh,
for slow king, normally you need a king's rock, and you have to trade it. So we made it
yeah.
so that a water stone will allow you to evolve a slow poke into a slow king.
Now that you say, I remember that feature in one of the options of the randomizer. I just completely forgot that it existed.
Yeah, and actually, I don't really
um,
blame you, because slow poke is sort of a special case because all the other trait evolutions are obtainable through levels.
oh, I see. Yeah, when I got the King's Rock, I really forgot how to evolve to Snow King the vanilla way. So, do I have to equip it and level up, or do I have to trade? And then
A
it
vanilla
didn't
is
evolve.
equip and trade, so
Yeah, and it didn't evolve. So yeah, I guess I'll just keep leveling up. But me and my friends around Brazil, we had a time that we played a lot of full item randomizer, but we played with the BSTs like randomized too. So
oh,
like every kind of Pokemon could be a carry, like a main Pokemon. Yeah. So I'm not so used with the best Pokemons to use in the speed run, like in the randomizer when they are vanilla. I didn't I didn't like research very much about them, so I just got slow, bro. I thought slow poke in a high level, and I thought, okay, for the early game it works, and it might be okay-ish to go to the end. It's a water type. I'll have boosted surf, so yeah, I just gave it a shot.
yeah, and actually, considering the difference in the mains that you have run compared to Shadowfrost, actually you held up pretty well. I thought you might be struggling a lot more, but you you were able to push through a lot of these fights.
Yeah, the moveset was good with Fire Blast and Blizzard. Like that's one reason I kept it too. Because I thought, well, at the end game I can have X accuracies and then like they can be good moves for red. Then okay, let's see how it goes.
So yeah, considering what you knew and what you got, I think you made a pretty good play then.
Thank you. But yeah,
Let's see. I don't know if I have any other questions for the both of you. Do you have any questions for me or each other? Like something in the run maybe?
In the end, what main Pokemon did you use, Shadow?
I used the Tauros.
Oh, a Tauros. Where did you get
Yeah.
it?
It was in between Goldenrod and National Park. I went to the Slowpoke. I saw it was a Slowpoke, and I was like, I'm gonna try to find something else still when going to Goldenrod, and that's the best I could find at that point.
Oh, then you went to Goldenrod. Yeah, I see. I just kept going the intended way. I got to Slowpoke and just trusted it. So yeah, that makes sense. But Charles would be pretty nice to have.
Its moveset wasn't great. It had like Stomp and Karate Chop.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Serve on it and after Longwell Strength, I still had some struggle with some Ghosts left and right because its moveset wasn't too great for that.
I had struggle with water types, and because I was so slow, I had so many stuff putting me to sleep. God damn it!
Oh yeah, that was
every
very rough.
single Pokemon just hit like Hypnosis, Sleep Powder on me. I was so mad.
Yeah, despite that, the race was very close early on. Yeah, because while the Tauros is a good Pokemon, it took a little bit of time before the moveset really ramped up to something good. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least I'm happy that I was able to put some at least good races, if you guys say so. GG's. I'm very happy for everyone organizing the tourney. It kind of like got some of my friends around here to play again, including me. So it was really nice.
Yeah, for sure.
But
the admins
GG's,
have put in
Shadow.
yeah.
Thank you. It was a good match.
Yeah, it was definitely a good match. And for anyone else who are still looking for more races to watch, later today at 6 we have Glacial versus Striped Sada on the same channel on SpeedGaming. That match is also going to be pretty exciting as both of them have one loss each, I believe. So whoever wins between the two will get to advance in that group. Similar to how it sort of ended up for this match here. So it's going to be a pretty tight match, I think. So stick around until 6 o'clock if you'd like to see that match. And then on Tuesday, 8 in the morning for Eastern Daylight Savings Time, we have Ethan versus Knutson. I can't remember how the standings are in that group, but that match should be also possibly a decider for that group. And we have a few tiebreakers. I believe they're not going to be broadcasted on SpeedGaming, but the individual racers will be streaming their point of view. So if you'd like to support any of those runners, of course you can go watch their individual streams whenever those tiebreakers are announced. So yeah, with that, do you have any last words to say to each other, to me, or the viewers?
Oh no, I was just. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Oh no, I just want to say thank you to Wungi for you for commentating, tracking, and all the things.
Yeah, I was also going to say that. Thank you everyone again who watched. Thank you, Shadow, for the race. I'm gonna keep an eye on you guys on next stage. Good luck on next stage. And I was just gonna hop off a little bit because I need to talk with my other friends there in the Portuguese restream. So
oh yeah, that's true. I believe
just chat a little.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, sure thing.
So GG's, thank you again, and see you guys.
Thank you for putting up a great race for both of you, Furlim and ShadowFrost, and also thank you to all the admins who managed to put this tournament together, and everyone over at SpeedGaming helping us out. So I think there's a Portuguese restream going on, so if you want to check out that post interview, you can go there as well. And if not, stick around for that match at 6. And that is all. So thank you everyone, and this is Mungi signing up here from the commentary. Hope you have a great day.